Dear seekers, wish you a pleasant life. Let us be more generous and genuine in our thought and behavior and attitudes of life to go deeper into our own personal life. Many of my friends asked to speak something about the devotional relationship because most of the people in religion or out of religion, they are always be in the communion with some devotions or devotional activities. The devotional aspect is called the Bhakti movement or Bhakti marga or the Bhakti way of life. The term Bhakti comes from the root Bhaj, which means to be attached to the divine reality. Bhakti is love for love's alone, love's sake. The devotee wants God and God alone. There is no selfish expectation here in the devotional attitude. There is no concept of fear here. Devotee should be a person full of love and without fear. The devotee feels, believes, visualizes and imagines that his God is the supreme reality who is an ocean of love and compassion. Bhakti is a small thread of love that binds the hearts of a devotee with the lotus feet of the Lord. Bhakti is intense devotion and supreme attachment to God. That is the relational aspect of communion with the supreme reality. We relate with God not only with our thought process, we also relate with the supreme reality with our human self, which is full of feelings, attractions and attachments. Bhakti is intense devotion and supreme attachment to God. That means we should be totally attached with a goodwill with the supreme reality. Bhakti is supreme love. It is the spontaneous outpouring of love towards the beloved. It is pure, unselfish and divine love. There is no bargaining attitude or any expectation here in Bhakti. Bhakti is a sacred, high emotion with sublime sentiments that unites the devotees with the supreme reality. In the beginning, it arises as faith, a surrender, willingness to surrender to the supreme reality. Then moves with attraction, a relationship, a communion, the supreme reality, and after that, total self-giving. Adoration is the total self-giving of the person to the unlimited divine reality. This selfless adoration leads to suppression of mundane or worldly desires. The result is single-mindedness and being in contentment. The result of the devotion is single-mindedness and being in contentment. It leads to a deeper attachment and supreme love towards the divine reality. Strictly speaking, Bhakti is not a mere love or devotion as we think, but a combination of several concepts. It is a powerful emotion of the mind that is both earthly and transcendental, an explicit sign of the highest nature hidden in us and the possibilities that awaits us. As we make progress in our onward spiritual journey, it manifests various possibilities according to the inner nature of the person. Bhakti is distinguished by faith, love, trust, loyalty, devotion, attachment, and reverence manifested towards oneself and the other and the supreme reality. In spiritual terms, Bhakti means intense spiritual love and devotion to God. It helps a devout person satisfy his or her spiritual needs without following an ascetical or a severe way of life. It would be a mistake if we consider Bhakti as merely a stage of emotionalism, while it is actually a careful discipline and training of one's will and the mind, a sure means to intuitive realization of God through intense love and affection for Him. It is a means to thorough apprehension of the true knowledge of reality, beginning from the ordinary form of idol worship right up to the highest form of cosmic realization of our oneness with the divine. We can achieve this oneness by following some fundamental factors. They are the practice of continuous thinking of God. First of all, we have to cultivate a spirit of discrimination to understand the different realities according to the goodness and the nature of life. And also, we should be free from everything else and having a deeper longing to the supreme reality. We have to live a truthful life. In our relationship, we should be straightforward in our behaviors, in our attitudes. We should be willing to do some good for others. At the same time, in the inner self, we should have a continuous aspiration, wishing all beings and all persons. In the practical sense, to create a kind of compassionate attitude within ourselves. This compassionate attitude will help us to practice ahimsa, or not finding fault or giving injury to other persons. It leads to a life of charity. We may be a charitable person with cheerfulness, and with optimism. These are all the inner attitudes we should have as a true devotee to God. Every act must be done that awakes the emotion of bhakti. All these produce a benevolent influence on the mind and elevate the mind. They generate piety. They help to create the necessary inner attitude to surrender totally to the Supreme Reality. Practice of right conduct, spiritual gathering, even saying the name prayers, thinking of the greatness of God, worship with a selfless attitude, service to the poor and the sick, and offering all actions and their fruits to the Supreme Reality, feeling the presence of the Divine in all beings will help us to grow in true devotion and to live a life of bhakti. When the true devotee grows in devotion, there is absolute self-forgetfulness. It is the true nature of the seeker. This nature establishes a true relationship between the devotee and the Supreme Reality. This nature develops into spiritual nature. Then the devotee lives, moves, and has his being in the Divine. This is the Supreme Love. There are 4 kinds of spiritual attitudes here. They are called as the attitude of servant, the servant of God, the attitude of son or daughter, or son and daughter of God, the attitude of friendship, the friend of God, the attitude of spousal relationship, a spouse of God in the inner self. The servant of God is the servant attitude. It is to serve the Supreme Reality wholeheartedly. He pleases his master in all possible ways. He finds joy and bliss in the service of his master. A devotee should be a person of a selfless servant. He should have an attitude, willingness to serve others. Second is Satputra Marga, being or having the attitude of son of God or the daughter of God. The devotee looks upon God as his child or her child. There is no fear in this nature because God is our own child who is at our disposal. The devotee serves, feeds, and looks upon God as a mother does in the case of her child. That means we should have that the inner nature of do our duties, that we take care of a child. That means the relationship is totally serving others. To serve a child is very, very difficult. We cannot understand the needs of the child, but we have to fulfill them. The same way, we also can become a child or a son of God and behave justly or righteously to establish oneself as God is my father or God is my mother. The third one is Saga Marga, the path of friendship. God is a friend of the devotee. That should be the attitude of the devotee. God is my friend. That means devotee and God are equal in their inner reality of sharing, selfless love for others. The devotee moves with the Lord on equal terms. It is to sit, eat, talk, and walk together as intimate friends. This attitude helps the devotee to live with God in a friendly manner and doing all responsibilities with equality, the giving the rights and respect for others. The last is Sanmarga, feeling as the spouse of God. This is the highest form of bhakti, devotional life. The devotee regards the Lord as his interior, intense lover. This is the intense purification, the intense fullness, the intense self-giving of the person. The love and the beloved becomes one. It is the real unity of selfless giving to the other, the supreme reality. The devotee and God feel one with each other and still maintain a separateness in order to enjoy the bliss of the play of love between them. This is oneness in separation and separation in oneness. That means it is the inner attitude of the seeker as the spouse of God. At the same time, he is separated from Him in the divine and in the natural limitations. Sanmarga is absolutely different from conjugality of earthly experience. One should not be mistaken for the other. Earthly relationship is purely selfish and is undertaken only because of it gives pleasure to one's own self. But in love for God, it is because it gives pleasure to God and not for the sake of the devotee. Divine love is not selfish. It comes out of sattva, the pure nature. One of the extreme is the purest form is called sattvic attitude or sattvic love or sattvic devotion. This kind of bhakti has a tendency to be sacrificial and selfless in nature and leads to the liberation of its practitioner and his union with God. But earthly lust, earthly love is born of rajas and attachment to bodies. Rajastic or egoistic form of devotion that seeks to use devotion as a means to gain some physical, mental or spiritual power or boon in order to perform one's own egoistic interests and selfish motives. Most of the devotees moved by this kind of bhakti based on their socio-financial needs. Here the devotees are moved by their needs. Their priority is not love towards God, but their priority is to get the favors that they are willing to have. They may be moved to go to any place or temple or church to any personal god, etc., since they are emotionally and psychologically moved by their family and social needs. They may go on increasing the demands of favors, still they are satisfied. It is also a business-minded bhakti to make a condition of making offerings according to the favors received. It will never help the seekers to grow. It will never help the seekers to grow, but keep them bounded by petitions, offerings, and some devotional practices. On the other extreme is dark and tamasic delude devotion that indulges in cruel and strange practices such as human or animal sacrifices and dark tantric rituals. Its aim is to pacify the objects of their devotion and gain control over things or cause intense pain and suffering to others in the most terrible, cruel, and destructive manner. Here in this devotion, there is no human sense or human love to all. The only aim is to pacify the anger of their personal God and gain the favors they are willing to get. Earthly relationship is the outcome of egoistic, self-regarding egoistic feelings, while divine communion is the outcome of the other, regarding feeling devotion. Strong selfishness is the root of worldly passion. Divine love is the product of loss of egoism. This is the greatest difference between the lust, the karma, the emotional feelings of the human, and divine love, the great love. The two are related as darkness is related to light. No development of earthly affection, however partly it may be, however perfect it may be, can lead one to supreme joy of divine communion. Lust creeps naturally the heart due to the passion that burns in the core of things. Divine love is unknown to the man of this world, however religious he may be. The secret of divine love cannot be understood and should not be tried to be understood. So long as man is only a man and woman is only a woman, the austere transformation of the human into the divine is the beginning of true love for God. The sattvic or selfless bhakti is very essential for spiritual growth. Compassion or love are the real expressions of the selfless love, which is the true sign of spiritual person. The maturity of the spiritual seeker is expressed through this selfless relationship with other beings and persons. He does this personal duty, the other social responsibilities with a selfless attitude. If a person is under the domain of the divine power, his whole life is filled with divine love. In the normal human life, we may be able to distinguish it, but the inner aptitude of the person filled with the selfless will be different. The Lord within light, overspread with the mass of ignorance. You can never realize the Lord that is in your heart's love. He, the pure light. We have to seek the Lord who is within us, who is the light, with the pure love, the pure affection, the selfless attitudes. Thus let us cultivate within us this true devotion, true love toward the supreme reality, to go to the deeper elements of spiritual life. O Supreme Graceful Light, justice, love, and peace be in all beings. Be well, be well, be well. Thank you.